How's it going, everyone? Today's job on the Mustang is to finally install my Eibach Sportline springs. Now, I've been psyching myself up for this one by watching the CJ Pony Parts install videos pretty much on repeat, so I've pretty much memorised the whole process. I'm fully expecting things to be seized in place. I know there's 2 spindle bolts that you have to whack out with the hammer, and as I've found from working on my car so far, that pretty much everything's been seized on, from the wheels to a caliper bolt. The Brembo pins were seized in place. One of them I couldn't get out at all. Seeing as those spindle bolts need whacking out with a big hammer on the new cars, even though mine's only like coming up to 3 years old, it's done 25,000 miles. If those other things are seized, I'm expecting these things to take some real whacking with a big hammer. So I've come prepared with a big whacking device, Thor's hammer. So that should definitely help free them up, and if not, it'll just bend them. And then I'll be stuck with everything still in the car with 2 bent bolts. So hopefully it'll go alright. So I think I'm just going to set the camera up on a time-lapse mode, because no doubt I'm going to need some trouble on certain things, and then just show you the end result. Job done. I wish I'd filmed more footage of the install process, especially the other side, because I got that done in half the time. Those splined spindle bolts were no match for Thor's hammer. While the first pair did put up a fight, they were soon KO'd, as in literally knocked out with some hard sledgehammer blows. I'm so glad I did go out and buy a new hammer for the job, rather than struggle with my little lump hammer. This was a £7 sledge that was on sale at Screwfix for almost half price. The long handle helped with some leverage, either by holding it against the wall as a pivot point, or by tucking the handle under my arm and swinging my upper body. The bits that took the most time were actually those bloody little plastic ABS clips. I think I spent as much time on those than knocking out the spindle bolts. Also extremely time consuming was the faffing about compressing the springs. It just happened that the threads on my spring compressors were too long, so I had to put them on upside down, but that meant I couldn't get my impact gun on the end to whiz them up. Instead, I had to tediously wrench them by hand, and it's sod's law that it was one size too big for my set of ratchet spanners, which meant I had to do it the old-fashioned way. I could at least whiz them off with my impact wrench until the battery died and I was back to undoing them a quarter turn at a time. A couple of pro tips that I picked up for anyone else doing suspension work on their Mustang. 1 is get the biggest hammer you can find for the spindle bolts. 2, use a jack so you can take the pressure off them. And 3, it's already shown on the CJ Pony Parts video to put the nuts back on to save the end of the bolt, but if you turn the nut around it gives you more contact area and prevents you from mangling the hex shape. With the rear requiring the subframe to be dropped, I was expecting it to be a lot harder than it turned out to be. The 2 subframe bolts whizzed out easily and the spring just wiggles out. The most difficult part of the rear end was actually a little collar on the shock piston that needed knocking off to remove the bump stop. Obviously mine was seized on, so I used an adjustable wrench and a rubber mallet as a makeshift slide hammer. If I'd have thought ahead and put the shock nut loosely back on, it would have prevented it from flying off and pinballing around the wheel arch, but instead I spent the following 20 minutes looking for it with a torch. The final result is looking great though. The Sportlines provide a little more of a drop than other springs at 1.5 inches rather than 1 inch, but the wheels are now nicely framed in the arches. The ride is a little firmer, but not majorly different to standard, and I was glad to find it made no difference to the trapezium-shaped speed bumps near my house. So I hope you enjoyed this latest video. I have no idea what's in store next, as I finally installed all the bits and bobs I'd stacking up from my first 2 shopping sprees. If you do want to see what mod I do next, then be sure to stay tuned to the channel or follow me on Instagram at Chris Spooner. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.